What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Is Arkansas's defense better than it was last year? We spoke with Travis Williams today, Stephen Dix, Bradley Shaw. Man, it's hard not to get amped up and excited after talking to them. Some people say that I get them excited for football and I'm just talking about it, but those guys kind of get me excited for it as well. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to review some of the things from the 140-play scrimmage, maybe a little more statistically instead of kind of the off-the-cuff reaction that I had in the walk and talk. If you missed the walk and talk, go back and watch that, presented by Sutherland's. But we're going to talk a little bit more, numbers and stuff like that happened in the scrimmage. And we'll hear from Travis Williams as well. We'll take your questions also. All that and more on today's episode of Hog Sports Live in stunning high definition. I'd like to tell you about my friends over at the Crane team. The Crane Automotive team has 16 locations throughout our state and is home to the Crane commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a new vehicle or a vehicle, the Crane team service centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle and get you back on the road. Check them out at craneteam.com. That's CRAIN team.com. Hog Sports Live is driven by the Crane Automotive team. I have something for you.
There it is. That feeling of a big win. Yeah, that's you enjoying your moment because you just won big with the Crane team. Your perfect vehicle at the perfect price. You got Crane Cash discounts and more than you ever dreamed for your Trey. Sure feels good, doesn't it? With 16 different locations around the state and every vehicle backed by the Crane commitment, we keep Arkansas moving. That's winning. That's the Crane team. Visit craneteam.com.
Just looking at the website again, I can't take my eyes off it because there's always new vehicles. There's 100 more since the last show. There's 5,442 vehicles available. Just go to craneteam.com and check out their inventory. It's fun to browse around and look at vehicles. I mean, I enjoy it, and they've got a big selection. Okay. So just looking at the offense, we're going to focus a little bit more on defense too, but just looking at the offense, sounds like things started off very hot, obviously, with Mike Washington, that 62-yard touchdown catch he had from Taylor Green. That was the ones versus the twos. He had a 15-yard pass to Omega Blake that Washington capped off with a 40-yard touchdown run right after that, again, one versus twos. So Mike Washington really exploding. We talked about him quite a bit. There's some, confusion, I think, when you look at what he did at New Mexico State, 700-plus yards, 4.6 yards per carry. One of our posters on the board, I think it was Razorback in NYC, was pointing out that he had a high fumble rate there per carry. Some stats that just aren't eye-popping, especially at New Mexico State, where, obviously competing against much higher competition. Then you look at other things like how he performs in these scrimmages, what Sam Pittman says about him. He can just run for days, his testing numbers and stuff, and you're just like, it's hard not to get excited on that front. So it's just kind of like this, pull back and forth. He split carries at New Mexico State. The guy he split carries with is Kentucky. I was looking at their projected depth chart stuff, and he's third on their depth chart at Kentucky. So I see stuff that I like, and then I'm also just kind of torn. Are my eyes deceiving me? Running back's generally an easy position to evaluate, and all the players seem to think he's just different. He's going to have this huge year. At the same time, why is he a redshirt senior and still college at running back? It's all this stuff pulling you back and forth, not knowing what to think exactly. Green also had a 20-yard scramble on third down. He had a 15-yard pass to Omega Blake, 15 yards to Raylan Sharp, Braylon Russell, and capped it off with a 9-yard touchdown run. KJ Jackson had a 63-yard touchdown pass to Monte Harrison. That was against the one defense. And then that was it. They shut it down. So they gave up a big play, and then they pulled it together and apparently just kind of shut things down. Green had a 20-yard pass to Jaden Platt, an 18-yard touchdown pass to Washington on a wheel route. I know you guys love the Bobby Petrino wheel route. That's ones versus ones. Twos versus two, Russell had an 8-yard touchdown run in the red zone. Jackson had a 45-yarder to Rohan Jones. He had a 70-yarder and a 45-yarder touchdown pass to Harrison. And again, that's twos versus twos. I'm not going to go into all the threes versus threes, but Trevor Jackson had a nice 40-yard touchdown pass to Courtney Crutchfield, a name that we haven't brought up very often. A guy that was very highly recruited, obviously went to Missouri and then transferred back to Arkansas from Pine Bluff. So Scott Starzik, I think this is an important aspect of it too, made field goals from 39, 43, 36, 48, 35, and missed from 50 in the stadium. So that's good. That's a good number overall. They won him at 80%. You get 80%, you're going to have a pretty good play. You'd be a pretty good player, but maybe even an all-SEC player. You get 90%, and maybe you're going to the NFL. By the way, Cam Little, 70-yard field goal for Jacksonville. Incredible. And had room to spare. Shout out Cam Little. All right, so some of the numbers from practice, we don't have like in-depth stats or anything. We weren't able to watch the scrimmage, unfortunately. We were just able to talk to Sam Pittman afterwards and Xavier Sorey and Taylon Green, just kind of get an idea of what was going on. I was at practice this morning. I've been to every practice for the entire – it's about 30 minutes, give or take. Sometimes there's a little over 30, sometimes maybe a little bit less than 30, but it's been about 30 minutes of practice through 9 practices. Just to give you an idea of what's coming up here, they'll practice again Tuesday. They were in spiders today, which means just the soft padding that they wear underneath. It almost looks like a heating pad that they wear underneath. Without the shoulder pads, wear helmets, no leg pads. So that's spiders. I would think over these next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're going to be in shells, which is shoulder pads, helmet, no leg pads. One of those days, I would expect them to be in full gear. Friday, I would expect them to be back in spiders. And then Saturday is the second and final scrimmage of camp. That'll wrap up around 11:30 or so. It's closed again. All these other practices will be open, but the scrimmage is closed on Saturday again, and that is the last practice. That'll be practice 14. They'll be off Sunday, so they're going to go 6 straight days here. This will be the longest stretch. 6 straight days off Sunday. Classes start on Monday. That effectively ends what we know as fall camp. People say fall camp's stupid. Why do they call it fall camp? It's not in the fall. Well, they also call it the fall semester, and it starts in August. And they call it the spring semester, and it starts in the dead of January. It's college, I guess. That's how they do things. So 14th, practice is Saturday. Sunday off. Classes start August 18th. From there, they're going to go – they'll go Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and probably hold that mock game on Saturday where they just kind of go over every details, maybe even simulate a fight, just everything that can possibly go on, play clock not working, all that kind of stuff, in addition to making sure all the headsets, all the coaches are on the same page, all that kind of stuff is in order, and any other technology that they have with iPads, whatnot. So they'll make sure all that stuff is in order on Saturday. In addition, on Monday when they get back, if they haven't done so already by now, you know, they've already probably thrown in some stuff on some upcoming opponents, you know, maybe an Ole Miss and Notre Dame, like a little extra work, maybe Memphis too, a little extra work on those teams in the preseason as they gear up for that. But if they haven't broken off into a scout team yet, they will do that on Monday. That'll be one of the biggest differences that if we were at practice, we would be able to see is players in that practice kind of jersey on top to demonstrate they're on scout team. That's basically guys that, you know, aren't going to contribute this year heavily, or they don't want to contribute. They want a red shirt, walk-ons, stuff like that. Those guys will be placed over at scout team. You might see somebody quit. It happens like every year. Somebody quits because they're on scout team or something, and that's not what they were told that was going to happen. So stuff like that happens. Players enter the transfer portal when they don't get, you know, they think they should be starting and they're not. It happens every year. Jaden Wilson was an example last year. Ashton No beat out somebody. I can't even remember his name now. Whoever was the long snapper. He's at Wisconsin now, but he quit, you know. take a scholarship and quit the team and just sit out. I don't understand that. I guess you get to redshirt yourself. But anyway, that's what they did, and it happens every year. So we'll go into scout teams, and so the scout team is going to be learning whoever, if they're doing a whole lot on Alabama A&M this week, I don't know, but they're going to be practicing, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a rehearsal for game week. They come back game week. It'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, physical practice. Take something off of them Thursday. Friday's a walkthrough. Saturday's the game. And here we are. College football is back. I guess there's going to be some week 0 stuff. There'll be some Thursday games. But as far as Arkansas is concerned, that's when it all gets back. So will the defense be better? Let's hear from Travis. Travis Williams was at the podium today.
Finally, do you feel like overall you got more pieces to find places for on the defense this year?
We have more pieces. We have a lot of ingredients, right? And we have to cook the meal. We got to put the ingredients in the right spot for the meal can be right. But we have the ingredients. Now we got to make sure, okay, it's not mildew, right? Or it's not spoil. What that means, okay, if it's not our standard, if they're not getting to the ball, they're not playing a physical brand of ball, that's not part of our ingredients. So we have the right pieces. We just have to put it all together. So it's been a good deal.
Other than Sori and Dix, who are some of the linebackers if you played Alabama A&M today or tomorrow? Who'd be some of them that go in pretty fast?
Hopefully all of them.
How many do you think you'll be playing in a game this year? Normal game.
You know what? We usually rotate 4 or 5, depending on the personnel. They come out in 12 personnel, 21 personnel, putting an extra Sam backer in the game. Sori and Dix, Shaw has been really good, and Andrew Harris has been really good. Trent Welling has been a really good get for us out of the portal. A guy that has a lot of experience, a guy that's going to be able to play special teams for us, a guy that's going to be able to help us on defense. And then you got Wyatt Simmons that's continued to blossom. See, the thing about Wyatt, he got redshirted last year, and then we started spring ball. He had the hamstring. So now you're getting to see him get more reps. He's a guy, man, he goes he goes hard and plays the right way. So we have some good guys there, good nucleus of guys, and then you got Tavion Wallace, who's a true freshman, that's out there, and he's playing with the older guys and doing some different things there. So we have some good pieces in the linebacker room.
And then just one more. Last year in some games, it felt like the defense, Coach Pittman talked about this the other day, almost carried y'all, right, in some of those games. What's the goal as the defensive coordinator to get them from that level of achievement to almost like you said, the next level of success?
Right. We just have to we don't do all this work to be whatever, right? Like, we want to be like the best at what we do, and that's Coach Pittman's standard, offensively, special teams, and defense. So it's my job to make sure the defense is playing at a high level, taking it to another level. This is our 3rd season, right, in the system. Now, the portal is a little different than the older days. The 3rd season, you're like, okay, this is the 3rd year in the system. The guys should have it, but it's forever. The portal is like a revolving door. But the standard haven't changed. Like, if you're playing the University of Arkansas, you're playing their offense, their defense, their special teams, you're going to see, okay, those guys play hard, they play with a passion. So we just have to take it to another level and be a dominant defense, right? And how you do that, a lot of times, yes, you got to have players, but whoever's out there, those 11, man, just bust your tail to the ball. And when you get there with bad intentions, and everything else take care of itself.
Everything will take care of itself. Get there with bad intentions. My dad used to tell me, run through them. I told my nephew the other day, he just started Pee Wee football, and I was like, run through them. That's what you got to do. So it's hard not to get amped up when you start looking out there. And I've made this point in the walk and talk, but I just see a lot of good-looking players. That's what I see. I see guys that are big, guys that can run. I see some depth at a lot of places. Still concerns a little bit on the defensive line, but it's hard not to look out there and say, man, they might be all right. You have to guard against that because, as I said before, that's what everybody at Ole Miss is thinking right now. That's what everybody at Notre Dame is thinking. Somebody brought up an interesting point. I thought, what if they start off 4-0? And that would be, beating Alabama A&M, beating Arkansas State, beating Ole Miss, beating Memphis. That's not impossible. That is not impossible that could happen. It's also possible that they get scrounged, as my friends from West Memphis like to say, scrounged by somebody like Arkansas State and Memphis. We've definitely seen them not show up for opponents like that sometimes. So, yeah, it could cut both ways. That's why I've kind of been like, they'll win 4 games or they'll win 8 games. And it's hard for me to pick anything in between because I can just see things going a certain way and just like spiraling, or that momentum building and building and building. Nobody ever picks Arkansas to do anything if they haven't done something big the year before. Everybody who's a detractor, me who's a critic, I know I'm in that critic line, that long critic line. I know you got these guys over here in this doer line. It's a lot shorter, right? A lot of us are in that critic line. I know it's easy to look at them and say they're not going to do anything because this is who they are and this is what we know. But man, it's a big secondary. I'll tell you what. I asked Travis about it today. Like, you're 6'4", 226. You're 6'1", 222 at safety. You're 6'1", 198 at nickel. You could be 6'2", 204 and 6'2", 208 at the corners. That's how it was today. Like, this is a big team, and their numbers aren't bad. Like, they're not slow. That's a big secondary. And then Xavier Sori is a dog. Steven Dix, I think, is going to have a really good year. I think Bradley Shaw could too. Like, so how do all those things fit together and you have a crappy defense? Like, they had a crappy defense at times last year. They also at times had a good defense. But so there were times where they just looked like Ole Miss had their playbook. Maybe they did. I mean, in this day and age, maybe Ole Miss just had everything. But again, is Larry Worth an all-SEC safety, or is he just a good safety? Because everybody's good. Is Selman Bridges going to live up to the 119th ranked player in the country? Because everybody else has got a receiver ranked 119 or better. Like, I don't know. That's how I kind of look at that. I just know it's a very mature team, which is interesting because there's not a lot of starters returning, but it's a very mature defense. If Justin Boone is coming along like they think he is, then that would be a big benefit. And I like what I heard about Andrew Harris. So if you want to bet on Arkansas, there's several different odds. I mean, you can bet anywhere from +2. You can bet on like 2+ home wins. It's like minus 1,200 or something. Like, you wouldn't win a lot of money unless you bet a lot of money. I'm not saying what to do like on that, but like that's including Little Rock, like Arkansas State. This is on Bet Saracen, but it includes Little Rock. So Arkansas State and Alabama A&M, and you're at 2+, right? I think that's what that means. Maybe somebody correct me. Bet Saracen has all kinds of other lines, -4.5. For Tennessee Titans. This is this coming up weekend on 8/15, so a few more days. Kansas City is -2.5 over Seattle. Green Bay Packers are +6.5 against Indianapolis Colts. You find all these lines on Bet Saracen. If you want to bet in Arkansas, you need to use Arkansas's #1 betting app. So you can go download the Bet Saracen app, or you can go to betsaracen.com and check them out on the web. Official betting app of HawgSports.
It's a fine barbecue, Joe.
My own secret recipe.
Where's Super Sid? I got him on the FaceTime.
Where you at, Sid?
Hey, I'm in Milwaukee at the Bucks game.
How are they playing?
They're pretty good. They just need to get healthy.
Speaking of playing, what's shaking in Bet Saracen?
Oh, great offers, Pat. Like for new players to Bet Saracen, they'll get $125 to use for new bets.
Gotta love Bet Saracen.
What do you think? What do you think about this defense? I mean, so much of it, again, depends on luck, little luck. Travis said today at the end of the press conference how Sam Pittman impresses upon them to make sure the players know that they care about them, which is very important because they won't, they don't want to know what you know. Houston Nutt used to say this. Houston Nutt used to say, they don't care what they don't care what you know until they know how much you care. That was one of Houston Nutt's favorites. They don't care what you know until they know how much you care. So you got to show them that your care factor for them is high. So I was watching them today, watching them run. They were doing pursuit drills, practicing, near shoulder, near hip tackling. And it's just such a big team on defense. Defense was outside today, so I was watching a lot of them. I like to stand outside, so they kind of alternate defense, offense, who gets to be outside during the 30-minute open period. And yeah, that's what just sticks out to me every time I look at them. It's just like, man, that's a really big defense, really big group. Can they run? They're rangy, they're long, should be able to bat down a lot of passes, get a lot of turnovers. That's what it's going to come down to. Like, we can talk about all this stuff. I'd rather have a bend but don't break defense that gets a lot of turnovers than just, a defense that gets a lot of stops, and forces a lot of punts. But I feel like the days of like saying this is a scrappy defense are just kind of over with the size of these guys and veterans. But are they great? Is there great players? Quincy Rhodes, is he an all SEC end? I know I'm repeating myself on that, but we're getting to that kind of stage. And I'm playing this, these things in my head too. I'm like asking myself these same questions, like, because I see a good team. And Travis Williams, it's hard not. I'm sitting up there talking to him. Somebody was giving me hell because I keep saying I sit in the front row and ask questions. And I do, there's a lot of, I don't mean to take shots at anything or anybody, but there's a lot of people that cover me, covering the team, covering the questions that I ask and reporting on what I report. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, most of the people that are like the harshest critics that you see in media, people that are going to tell you like it is, this is how it is, and nobody will tell you, you never see them. I will come up here and tell you what I think and be critical and be positive, be critical, and then go look them in the eye the next day in the press conference. I'm just saying, that's across all media. Like, you turn on radio and there's, people that are just, it rains every day kind of crowd. Never see them. That's why I say that sometimes. There's a lot of great media people out there that don't go there. I understand people who are on radio, they can't always go because they got a set time they've got to be on. All right, so we've got some questions lined up for today's show. I didn't get finished with all the questions yesterday. I want to know what you guys think about this defense also. Like, just based on what we reported, based on what you hear from Travis Williams, based on what you know from the past. You've seen it before. You've been there. You've gotten amped up for Arkansas football before, and they just let you down. They crushed your soul. And I say get excited again and let them crush your soul. This is the time to be excited because everybody's 0-0. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. 2 wins is possible. That kind of stuff happens too. Certainly don't really ever see like a 2-win season coming or a 4-win season. But in the case of Arkansas, do you see a 9-win season? The times they've won 9 games, like, I'm not saying they're winning 9, but I'm just saying the times they've done it, nobody predicted it. Nobody predicted it in 98. Nobody predicted them to win 10. Maybe you did. Maybe in 2010 you predicted them to win 10. I think I predicted them to win 10 that year, but they had also won 8 the year before. It's a pretty, and you can see the climb. Ryan Mallett's coming back at quarterback. They've got a lot of pieces coming back and stuff. So, but generally nobody's going to pick Arkansas unless they did something big the year before to do something. So we can be negative, and we can talk about how bad Arkansas sucks and how bad you're just not excited for football anymore, and they've stolen that for you, and taken it away from you. But there's a lot of possibilities. Try to stay positive. I know. That's why I say 4 wins or 8 wins. Big sweeps both ways. All right, let's see if we got our questions in here. Mickey Haller, Hog, 25 months. Over 1,300 posts. If you had to choose one starter on offense or defense, no special team or specialist, for Danny to have to fight, who do you choose and why? Who do I want to see Danny fight? Danny West. I'd like to see, I've said before, if there's a fight, Steven Dix might be the last guy walking out. But Steven also, I don't know. Is he a fighter? Larry Wirth seems like he would be tough to fight. He's every bit of 6'4", 226. I'm going to pick Shaq McCroy on one side because Shaq's 6'8", 344. And I'll pick on defense. Let's go with Quincy Rhodes. Long arms. Quincy could probably mess some folks up. Not that any of those guys are fighters. Interesting question, Mickey Holler. This is the time. This is like Randy Rainwater. I'm going to get on drive time today, and he's going to go, Trey, are we officially in the dog days of summer? He does it every year. It's coming. If it's not today, it's coming this week. Dog days of summer. Mountain Hog says, who do we need from each position group to make a significant jump in order for us to win 8? Is there a position group that needs more players to step up than others? Defensive line? Absolutely. Needs more players to step up than others. Justice Boone, just because we've been talking about him a lot lately, I would say he's one. I would say 2 defensive ends. If like 2 defensive ends in addition to Quincy Rhodes can really start to surge, that would be really big for them. So I will say defensive end, it's actually 2 players, but we're going to go Justice Boone because you asked for one. Defensive line, I think Danny Saili needs to be what I think I see with him. Big dude, quick twitch, big heart. Seems like he wants it this year. So I'll say Danny Saili there. Linebacker, man, if Andrew Harris comes along like they've been talking, like they could use a guy that hits like a truck. I mean, they could. I mean, he was very highly recruited and hadn't quite lived up to it at his previous stop. So I will say Andrew Harris, if he can join that first 3 group of linebackers, and you got 4 linebackers, that would be really big. Secondary, Selman Bridges live up to 119 ranked player in the country. You don't need as much depth in the secondary, I don't think. I know as long as you stay healthy, obviously. So it's not like asking backups to step up. But to me, like if Selman Bridges could be like a lockdown type of guy, that would be really big. Him or, Neil, either one, anybody back there, if they could be a lockdown. But I'll just pick Selman because he has that, those accolades that go with him. Safety, I'm going to say Larry Worth live up to his everything that you see on paper. Larry Worth on paper is a first-round draft pick. On paper, he's a first-round draft pick. Like his numbers are obscene, really. His size and speed and bench press, squat, vertical, broad jump, all very impressive numbers. So I'll go that way on defense. On offense, obviously you need Taylor Green to take his game another notch, which they should do. Offensive line, Corey Robinson, if he's just a standout stud left tackle, just stymieing some of those SEC defensive ends and living up to what everybody hopes he can be, I think that would be tremendously big for them. Wide receiver, I would say like just one of them, like just be a real stud because I think they've got a lot of steady looking guys. But like Omega Blake, if he is close to the guy he was at Charlotte, that would be monstrous for them, like a real legitimate deep threat. So I'll go maybe Omega Blake. And running back, let's see Mike Washington be who he has been in the preseason. Like he had probably the best preseason or the best offseason of anybody. His preseason so far has been outstanding. Let's have him be that guy. And Rohan Jones needs to be a stud at tight end. Like I like what I see from Rohan, but you don't ever know. Sometimes the guy looks like $1 million and the game comes on, the lights come on and everything, and he's the kind of guy that drops passes. I've seen guys come through like that. Look great in practice, game time. Broden dropped a lot of passes. There was a tight end a few years ago who looked like an Adonis and get out there and it's just stone hands. So Rohan Jones, soft hands. If you got soft hands, he's got everything else. I mean, he's not huge, but he can run. He's 6'3", 244. I go with Rohan Jones. Scott Starzik, obviously, on special teams. Kira, small enthusiast. Got a lot of enthusiasts. That's a thing. There's somebody on X that replies to a lot of my things. He's a Larry Worth enthusiast. Did you see what the Action Network guy, Colin Wilson, said about Bobby and Travis? Seems outlandish on another note. Do you know which road games you're going to? So I did not see that, but so maybe link me in the comments. But road games, I plan on going to Tennessee, Ole Miss. Okay, let's go in order. Ole Miss. I am thinking I might not go to Memphis because the stadium is still under construction, and like if you're sitting anywhere but the front row, like if you're second row, which is very possible that Arkansas media will be on, you can't see the bottom third of the field from there, like because it's under construction. They move the press box to the other side, so I may stay home for that one, but definitely going to Oxford, possibly Memphis, going to Knoxville. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to Baton Rouge. I hate that that's a morning game, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to Austin. So maybe everyone but Memphis. I do like to hang back for at least one road game every year. That may be the one I do, although I may get an itch and go. I worry about the quality of the facilities that I'll be sitting at for that game because of the fact that they didn't move that damn game to Fayetteville for this year because the stadium is under construction. What are they doing? Like, it's so stupid. I'm sorry. It's one of the stupidest things that Arkansas has scheduled is doing that 2-for-1 with Memphis. I'm sorry. It is. They're an 11-win team, and you're going at their place in a stadium that is under construction, and you couldn't figure out a way to get it back in Fayetteville. Just bugs. Arkansas does so many things to themselves like that. Like, and I wonder too. I was talking with somebody today about the basketball tickets, and they said that they just upped their donation to $20,000. They had to go in with a buddy because they had 10 seats. They go in with a buddy so they can double their donation, go from $10,000 to $20,000 donation, and the seats that they got to pick out are 3 rows farther back and off to the corner now, from going from great seats to that. And he was saying, like, I feel sorry for the people that are donating $10,000 when they get to select their seats when that's coming up, because they're not going to have very good seats. They're going to be pushed way back. They're going to be and he was like, if I still did the $10,000 donation, that would be the last time I gave money to Arkansas. And I think a lot of it is, maybe some of the big corporations that get, they donate 40,000 and they get 20 seats as a result, and just like eating up the prime seats, that fans used to sit at. I don't know if that's 100% true that that's who's donating 40 to get 20 seats and first picks and all that stuff, but I don't know. I just feel like it would just feel a lot better. Like, I understand like the landscape that we're in at, but like, the stadium still hasn't been named. It is not Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. It's been a couple of years now, and there's not a new sponsor for that stadium. That seems like it would be millions of dollars that, like, I don't know. It just feels like maybe fundraising versus it's college football now, and I know things are changing, and college sports in general are changing, and there's revenue sharing. You got to find the money somewhere. But it's frustrating because it feels like the fans are the ones that are paying for it, and they are. I mean, it's a business. Like, it is a business. Just like this is a business, I understand. Like, I've got to pay bills too. Woodbury Hawk says, will the handcuffs come off T-Will this year and more zero coverage, bringing the house blitzes? Today he was talking about playing 3 high safety, playing 3 linebackers, playing a 3-4. Sam Pittman said that they'll play more zero coverage from time to time. So, yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, I guess we'll see when it happens, but it sounds like that's in the plans. I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to go to the new store at Walker Brothers yet, and I'm kicking myself because I've been dying to get over there. I might go on Friday or this weekend because I want to see the new store in Rogers. Walker's Brothers has been a staple in the Fayetteville community for years. They're located over at 577 Millsap Road, suite number 6, and now they're in Rogers, 3503 South 55th Street, suite 101. Like, for men's clothing, there are not options in Fayetteville. Really, like, you can go to the mall or something, but like, if you want like the good stuff, Walker Brothers has it, and they've had it for years. And I'm talking like Faraday, which is one of my favorite brands all time. It fits me a certain way. Peter Millar does too. Peter Millar, sometimes I'm an extra large in a golf shirt, but in Peter Millar, I'm like the large just like fits me just perfectly. But they've got like Curly Tail and Crazy Hog logos on all these brands, like, with the Crazy Hog logo or the Curly Tail Hog logo, on Peter Millar, Johnny O, Horn Legend, Divot Sportswear, and other brands too. So, I'm a big fan of the store. I've known those guys for a long time, so that's why I was excited to partner with them. I've known the Coles, good friends. Thomas Cole was my neighbor. Alan Cole's a very good friend of mine. In that family. He doesn't work at Walker Brothers, but in that family. So it's really good people, really big hog fans. So know that you're supporting people that also support the hogs over at Walker Brothers. And go check out their store at Rogers. I hear it's fantastic. I hear they just did a tremendous job. So one of the cool things they do is the freshman experience. So like I always say this, but like my wife gets on to me sometimes, is like, hey, honey, my T-shirt game isn't what it used to be. And she's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be wearing so many T-shirts with logos. Like maybe you should start dressing like a 47-year-old. I'm like, okay, well, thanks. That hurts. But no, I do. I love to get my stuff at Walker Brothers. I've been a customer there for many, many years, and I'm anxious to get to that Rogers store. But, obviously I'm going to stick around the Fayetteville store because I live in Fayetteville, but I do want to see what they've got going on over there at Rogers. Check them out at Walker Brothers, 577 Millsap Road, Suite 6 in Fayetteville, 3503 South 55th Street, Suite 101 in Rogers. And you can check out their website, Walker Brothers, I assume. Is that it? I believe so. Okay. More questions. All right. Speaking of good friends of mine, ASAP Hog. If you could wave a magic wand and have one game on the schedule be a Hog 1, which one would it be and why? It would be Notre Dame. It would be Notre Dame. I mean, beating Notre Dame. If there was a second choice, beating Ole Miss and Oxford. My first choice would be Notre Dame. I don't think there's any question. Having a great home environment, winning a game like that, to me would be outrageously fun. The Ole Miss game, just because, they've taken like 4 players off of Arkansas's roster that Arkansas probably would have liked to have kept. 3. Sorry, lunch is giving me a little case of the burps. 3 players off this last roster, Pooh Paul the year before. So to me, it's like easily those 2. Notre Dame because it's Notre Dame, and Ole Miss because it's Ole Miss. I mean, Texas is always in the back of your mind, waving your magic wand on that one. Winning in Baton Rouge is always fun. Beating Missouri, God, freaking Missouri. The Missouri, you guys can see my face. The Missouri record is just one of the most disappointing things in Razorback football history. Not that Missouri shouldn't get them every once in a while. I'm not saying that, and I don't mean to downtrodden Missouri. People think I'm just like slamming Missouri when I talk about their schedule, playing 6 home games and stuff like that. I'm just comparing an example of Arkansas versus someone else, and I don't mean to slam Missouri per se. Okay, that's not my intention. Well, sometimes I mean to slam them, I guess. Sometimes I do. That's a lie. I do mean to slam them. But in this particular instance, I don't have any angst against Missouri. The fact that that's the winning percentage, what is the record? Like, you're still going to be like, "12 and 4. 12 and 4. People. That's the record against Missouri. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the last 9, if you include the vacated game from 2016. 8 of the last 9, Missouri has beaten Arkansas. That is so ridiculous. Embarrassing. Like, those are Alabama numbers. the Texas A&M and especially the Missouri series, the way that has gone the last several years, I mean, that just shows how Arkansas football has been. It just shows what it's been. I mean, it's not up to standard. This is not Arkansas football. This is not what it's supposed to be. This is not what I grew up with. Hopefully they get it turned around this year. It's frustrating. It's been so frustrating. Pit Crew says, what SEC games do you see us winning and losing this year? I don't think the Ole Miss game's out of the question, even though they came and beat the crap out of them last year in Fayetteville. Arkansas also, the time before that they were in Fayetteville, Arkansas beat the crap out of them. It was 42-6 at one point. It was much more modest win, 42-27 or something at the end, but in the fourth quarter it was 42-6 against Ole Miss. They almost beat them with the 2023 team. That wasn't very good. They almost went and beat them there. I mean, things can happen in football. You get a little bit of momentum, something happens early in the game, things can happen. So it's hard. It's so hard to say this year because the schedule at the front end is so difficult. If they get off to a good start and if they get off to like a 4-0 start to start that game and then maybe play Notre Dame well, even if they don't beat them, things could go pretty well for them. They have a chance to do I mean, I really think they do. They have a chance. If they can get off to a start like that, conversely, they drop one of those games like to Memphis and Arkansas State and they lose to Ole Miss, things could go in a hurry. It could be one of those just awful seasons. I think they beat Missouri this year, regardless. Last game of the season. Give them that one. They beat Mississippi State. Of course, Mississippi State's looking at their schedule and saying, I think we can get that one in Arkansas. Mississippi State, Missouri, maybe Auburn. Who knows what Auburn has? ATX Hog says, how do you think we will use our running backs to shuffle Mike Washington and Braylon Russell? Well, hopefully it's primarily those two, and Rodney Hill is, an extracurricular type of back. Because what I think works best with running backs, just my observations over the years, is when you've got two guys and, you're running those guys, one guy maybe gets a hot hand in the game and you kind of ride him a little bit. I hate when teams try to – it's just that whole narrative. Everybody's going to play. Even Travis Williams today, what linebackers do you think you're going to count on? Well, hopefully all of them will know. I didn't mean to mock Travis Williams in that tone. Sorry, Travis. But he's not going to play all of them. Everybody's not getting to play. We're not kumbaya in here and everybody gets to play because everybody did such a good job. You're going to primarily play a couple of guys. You're going to have a third guy rotate in at linebacker, and hopefully you have four guys doing that. And if you can get four, that's pretty good. That's pretty good if you can get four. At running back, barring injury, 1-2 punch. Third guy's a gadget, change of pace type of player or something like that. But really that third back is needed when one of these guys get a little dinged up, which is going to happen. Somebody's going to get a little banged up here and there, maybe miss a game even. And that's just how it happens at running back. And that's where you maybe have the third guy. When Brett Bielema had almost 3,000-yard rushers on his team, it wasn't because they were all splitting the load equally. Like, guy got hurt, comes out, another guy comes in, fills that spot, other guy gets hurt, guy gets healthy again, comes in. That's how it worked out. You can go back and look at it. This was at Wisconsin. But that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Like, find the guy that's got the hot hand that's the defense is having a hard time with and ride him a little bit more, but two running back system. Brown 1994 says, does Coach Pittman have analysts? Yes. To prepare from clock and game management. Clock and game management, or does he go largely on instinct? He goes on what he calls SAMalytics, surely just by regression to mean some. I think he's gotten better at this actually lately, but he had a stretch where he just, there were some issues, but also sometimes it's just luck. Like, you're going for it on fourth down and you're just running into the teeth of the defense sometimes. And maybe you should have done something different. Maybe a better play call would have worked. Dan Enos was a terrible play caller in 3rd and 4th and 1. Terrible. He was terrible at it. But I feel like they've gotten better, and that's probably partially because Bobby Petrino is a better play caller. But those decisions you make, like whether to punt when you hit that 50-yard line. So if you get stopped, like, the 40, like, are you going to punt it? Are you going to, that's obviously a long field goal. Or are you going to go for it? Like all those kinds of decisions that you make in that situation are what determine these games. Like generally, not always, but generally they're going to be close. It's those little decisions. It's a fumble. It's an interception. It's a stupid penalty. Like Texas A&M game, all we remember, and I've heard somebody said today or the other day, KJ Jefferson jumping from 5 yards out. Like he gets farther and farther out. It's like a fish. That fish got bigger and bigger, every year I tell that story. But KJ Jefferson jumps from farther out every single year. But what I remember in that game, as good a player as Ricky Stromberg was for him, he had a play, what was it, an errant snap? I think it was, that backed them up pretty good bit. Like they were marching. Texas A&M couldn't stop them. And that caused them to kick a field goal. It goes off the top upright. Cam Little, who I would take Cam Little in that situation every day. Those are the things that cost you. Mistakes cost you. Not playing tight football, keeping everything nice and clean, penalties, procedure penalties, turnovers, special teams. Those are the things that cost you in games like this. And we can always point to like a play at the end of the game and say that's if he had just done that, but really it's decision-making, turnovers, penalties, special teams, sometimes injuries. If you could pick one position to have an All-American caliber player, what position would it be and what would you want it to be? Don't pick the QB. That's obvious. After that last part, I was going to say it. I mean, I'm not even going to answer this question. It's quarterback. If I could pick one position to have an All-American caliber player, let's go defensive end. I'll take a defensive end that can get to the quarterback and disrupt all kinds of stuff. That's what I would take, I think. I mean, I think there's a reason that your big money guys, offensive tackles, defensive ends, quarterbacks, I'll go D end. Flint says, 55 months, 349 posts. What do you think Arkansas will hang their hat on this year? What do you think is a realistic identity for the future? I think they could hang it on Taylor Green and you're our guy. You got tons of athletic ability. You've been in this offense. We've built an offensive line around you. I would say hang it on that and hopefully being a clean football team above anything else. Like if they win ugly because they don't put up a bunch of points or give up some points, but like just being clean and consistent, don't just boneheaded type plays. You can't have a great football team like that. Would be bad to be lucky. Westhog 21 says biggest stock riders from before camp to now, only one rule. You can't say Danny Saili. Also, true freshmen that may not help this year, but you are confident will be ball players. That's a good question. I might go with Justice Boone just based on what we've heard, not so much what I've seen because I haven't seen a lot of one-on-one stuff aside from early 11-on-11 stuff and a little bit of work with offensive line versus defensive line. But just based on what you hear, it seems like Justice Boone's stock has risen pretty significantly. So he'd be in that conversation. Mike Washington obviously had an outstanding offseason. Monte Harrison has looked good to me. I mean, I know he's 30, about to be 30. True freshman question's good. J.J. Shelton, I think, is a guy that they're really intrigued with. He ran a really fast catapult speed, I should say. I think he was like right around 22 miles an hour, maybe just below that. Is a guy that they brought in as a linebacker. He was a linebacker recruit. And then they were putting him at nickel in the spring, and they liked him there. I mean, he was running a lot of second-team stuff, and now they have him at safety. Like, to go from line – usually it's the other way. Usually he's a safety, and, we're going to put a little weight on him and move him down a level, and they're moving him back. So Shelton would be a guy to keep an eye on as a freshman. Let me think real quick. Grayson Wilson, I thought, has made some really nice strides since the spring. I think he looks way more competent, way more comfortable at quarterback. They like Cam Settles at running back. I like Jacaden Ferguson at wide receiver. I do. I think he's got a future possibly. I like those freshman defensive linemen. Reginald Vaughn, to me, size-wise, I think has, what you're looking for physically. Caleb Bell, I like him. He's not as thick as Reginald Vaughn. He is very quick off the ball. I like him. I like the way Trent Sellers looks. I think he's got a good look to him, 6'4", 260 freshman. I think they did a good job bringing in the right body types on the defensive line. Maybe not guys that are just like elite recruits, but guys with a lot of potential, I think. Yeah, those are a few off the top of my head. Scott Starzik, obviously. Hogzilla says, T-Bombadilly. Do you see guys like Justice Boone playing at the DV position on third downs? Absolutely. Also, do we see any third down fronts this year? Yes, I think you're going to see them with some packages where they get their best pass rushers out on the field. Third and long, I think you'll see that definitely. And I think Boone. I haven't seen that in practice, I should say, but I think we're going to see Boone possibly moving inside some. Man of Squeal. I don't know if I've been asked about Cam Ball yet, but Travis Williams was talking about him. Cam Ball also, he lost his father this summer, which obviously our thoughts are with him. But he's just such a good guy. Like, he's one of my favorite Razorbacks. And Travis Williams was talking about him a lot today. And I just want to, add on to that. I always just thought he was just such a good kid. Stayed all 5 years. They talk about turned down a ton of money to stay at Arkansas. So shout out Cam Ball. He gave me a shout out in the Tennessee Walk and Talk, so I'll give a shout out back to Cam Ball. Hope he has a really good year. He's got a lot of ability. And you got to love that he's been here all 5 years. Who's been here all 5 years? Think about it. And Marion Harris is going into his 4th year. So he's up there. None of these wide receivers, none of these tight ends, none of these quarterbacks, none of the running backs are all, obviously younger. Cam Ball at defensive tackle. And last year, Eric Gregory, another guy that was one of my favorites. I loved Eric Gregory. He was here all 5 years. Quincy's going into his 3rd. None of these linebackers, none of these safeties, none of these corners. Makes you think. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? It's a different era of college football. If you're good and you play, they're either going to pay to keep you here or somebody else is going to buy you, pay you to get you out of there. That's how it goes. So shout out Cam Ball. NEA Hog 12 says, that's a good question too. Who the captain's going to be? I think you establish captains right now. Let's know who the captains are. I'm not a big fan of we're going to do it. This game, we're going to have this captain, and this game, we're going to have this captain. Let's have our captains. Let's say, these are the guys that we want leading. Taylor Green obviously can be a captain. I could see Mike Washington being a captain. I could see him being a captain on this team. I could see Larry Worth. I could see Xavier Sori. I could see Steven Dix. Cam Ball, of course. Those are the best candidates. There's good candidates, but I think, when you factor in a little bit older player and all that kind of stuff. NEA Hog 12, 844 posts, 58 months. Can you go into the schedule and why you think it's – I think the main thing that I think is harder about this year's schedule is how it starts. It's not so much that the middle of the year and you've got Mississippi State and Auburn and Texas A&M all there jumbled in the middle of the season as home games, and then, a trip to Austin and, getting Missouri back. It's the back end is actually manageable, if you have some momentum and some positive things going. If you let go of the rope, then it's not, those are all tough teams, generally. The reason I think the schedule is tough is because the way it starts. It's, obviously Alabama A&M, they should wipe the floor with them. But Arkansas State is going to give you everything that they've got. And so you have to be prepared for them. And that means you can't spend a little bit of extra time. Like, who does Ole Miss play week 2? Who does Ole Miss play? Ole Miss football schedule. So Ole Miss, week 2, they got Kentucky. So they can't play. They can't look ahead either. They got Kentucky week 2. So that's good. But it also, it would be nice if Arkansas could kind of look ahead a little bit, prepare a little extra for Ole Miss. But I'd rather be playing Arkansas State than Kentucky week 2 heading into the Ole Miss game. So that's good. But, you got Arkansas State, you got Ole Miss, and Memphis. Memphis they're not chumps, and you're playing at their place. They won 11 games last year. And they've been playing good football for many years in a row now. So that to me, and then you get Notre Dame at home. You slip up somewhere, you lose that Ole Miss game, you lose Notre Dame, and that's a lot of losses right out of the gate. That's why I think this is such a tough schedule. And then your next game, you're on the road, right? You're going to Knoxville. That's why. I think you get a bye before Knoxville, but you still got to go to Knoxville. Not that they can't win in Knoxville. They beat Tennessee at home last year. It can happen. Hog Freaking Wild says 8 months, 48 posts. Is the offense that good to dominate the defense, or is the defense really that bad? Well, I think a lot of that was, one offense versus 2 defense. But we'll see. I mean, it's kind of like that. Like, I can come here and say, hey, the offense was dominant today, and it's like, great. Oh, wait, the defense sucks. How the running backs look in pass pro, says Jurassic Pork. Arkansas fans have the best names. Braylon Russell, apparently the best pass blocker. You would think that Mike Washington would be pretty solid at it too, since he's a bigger guy and he's a veteran. How do you think the tight ends will fare in run blocking? I don't know. That's a great question that I don't know. I think Andreas Poshka has a high ankle sprain, but if he's healthy, then he's a pretty solid blocker. But I don't know a lot about Rohan Jones in the blocking category. Jaden Platt's a big body guy, 6'5", 265. So that's a good question that I don't really know the answer to. What's the loudest road environment you've been to for an Arkansas game? 2021 UGA for me. It's Hogs 98, 58 months, 228 posts. Well, the loudest that I've ever been to anywhere was the Superdome. Am I saying that right? The Sugar Bowl, yeah. New Orleans Superdome. That's the loudest I think I've ever. Remember, Jim Harris was next to me, and I think it was after Arkansas had blocked that punt, maybe, and I'm yelling at him, and he's this far away from me, and he's yelling at me, and neither of us can understand each other. But as far as a true road game, Alabama gets loud. LSU night game in LSU probably. Yeah, I would say Baton Rouge is probably the loudest that I've experienced. Maybe by a little bit of a margin. Trying to think real quick. I've been to every SEC venue except for Oklahoma. I've never been to Oklahoma. And I haven't been to the new renovated Kyle Field. And I obviously haven't been to the renovated First Bank at Vanderbilt, but I doubt that's going to make that list. I would say Death Valley, Baton Rouge. When the sun finds its home in the western sky. It's an environment now. Do we have adequate depth where we need O-line? I think so. D-line? I do not think so. Or are we going to be in trouble if something happens or starters out? O-line, I think they've got pretty decent depth. D-line, I still have my concerns, especially at end. And if a D-tackle, starting D-tackle goes down, they get thin real quick. They'll be fine until that happens, but when that happens, the rotation could be impacted. We'd be looking at a freshman getting in there, or Frank Mulipola, who I think was more of a defensive end. Okay, there were a couple of questions that I missed. and I want to get to those that I missed from last week. But I do want to remind everybody before we get to that about our friends at the Crane Team. Really appreciate them being our title sponsor this year for the show, because the Crane Automotive Team has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crane Commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a new vehicle, the Crane Team Service Centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle and get you back on the road. Check them out, craneteam.com. HawgSports Live is driven by the Crane Team. Okay, so Marcus Hogg, who plays with Indiana in our 27 team dynasty, has 27 posts in 88 months. He beat me with Indiana pretty good. So he says, how did it finally feel to win a game in our HawgSports dynasty on NCAA 26? I've won 2 games back-to-back, but I lost 5 in a row. And I'll tell you, I think one of the reasons that I lost 5 in a row, because I didn't know that there are these massive problems. First of all, I messed up, I think, picking Wisconsin. But there are these massive problems with cover 4 and cover 2. I quit using those defenses. And now I think they have patched them based on the last game. But, like, that was giving – like, people were just running wild. Like, I'm calling a cover 4 defense, and there's people just running, streaking down the field. Like, I'm in cover 4 quarters, at the end of a game, and there's 26 seconds left, and he throws a bomb over me to score right before half. Like, stuff like that kept happening. And I'll be honest, I'm just like, I don't think I'm going to play this game anymore. Like, it was frustrating, but apparently that's what it was. They had to patch it because they're just receivers running wide open. And ever since they have, guess what? Defense is a lot better. It's a more enjoyable game. So thanks for asking, Marcus. Yes, it felt good to finally win one and win 2 in a row now. You're up next, UCLA. Let's see. Heisman Hog said, this is, again, August 8th. He's just commenting. Chad Razorback says, win a couple of early, will be favored to win more. These will change drastically as the season plays out. Questions. Oklahoma Suey says, I'm ready for this season. Trey, do you think KJ Jackson looks better than Singleton this time last year? I think they're comparable. Just different style of quarterback, really. But KJ, I think, has done some good things. I think I would feel okay. I mean, it's not great, like, if your backup quarterback has to go in. It's getting bright outside. It's not great if your backup quarterback has to go in, but yeah. This is a good one. This is Story of the Year said, what would you set the point spread at for each of Arkansas's 4 conference games plus Notre Dame? See, Notre Dame is a 10, 12.5 point favorite. I would go, if I'm just guessing, that's how I'd put it on Bet Saracen. I'd go, again, it depends on what's happening before, but, like, we're just, like, looking out, maybe +8 at Ole Miss, +10 versus Notre Dame, +10 at Tennessee, +4 versus A&M, +2.5 versus Auburn, maybe. It depends on, I mean, you're getting into it there, but I'm just saying, like, how they might do it. Not necessarily my odds. -7.5 versus Mississippi State, maybe more. +10 versus LSU at LSU, +13.5 at Texas, maybe higher. +2.5 versus Missouri. Just a guess off the top of my head. Jurassic Pork says he'd like to hear my rankings of the stadiums the Hogs will play in this year. I actually wrote some of this down. So number 1 on my list is Tiger Stadium at LSU. It always feels like, I like Baton Rouge. It's a fun place. It feels a little dusty. Does anybody get that? Like, it feels a little dusty there. Everywhere has their own, like, characteristics and stuff. But it just feels like, not grimy, I don't mean, not sticky, but just dusty. I don't know what that is, but, like, the people look a little dusty. Nobody ever says that, but it's just something I observe. Maybe it's just the culture there. I don't know. I love New Orleans. New Orleans feels a little grimy. It's a little dirty, you know what I mean? But Baton Rouge feels dusty to me. I don't know why. It's kind of like, you know, when I think about College Station, which is, I guess, Bryan College Station now, nobody ever talks about this. The water is so soft that it takes forever. Like, I made the mistake the first time I took a shower there of, like, soaping everything up, you know, getting nice and lathered. And I mean, I know what they say. It's like the soft, it's just your skin feeling. I know, but it's uncomfortable how it feels. Like, it feels like you can't get the soap off. I hate that sensation. I remember just washing my hands one time at a restaurant. I'm just like, oh my God, can't get my hands clean. Can't get the soap off my hands. I know it's not necessarily supposed to be the soap, but it's just the water is too soft in Texas A&M. But they don't go to Texas A&M this year. Tiger Stadium, LSU. I think that was the Johnny Manziel game when I realized all that. Darrell K. Royal, Texas Memorial Stadium. Looking forward to going there. I have not been there since, I guess, whenever the last time they played at Texas. So it's been a while. I don't think I've been there since they've done all the most recent renovations there. Ranking the stadiums. So Tiger Stadium is one. I assume Darrell K. Royal is probably going to be number 2. I think Razorback Stadium is 3 for me. And that's ahead of Neyland Stadium. Neyland Stadium is nice on the inside, but the outside to me needs a facelift. Like, it needs, you know, there's like, last time I went there, there's like, you know, AC units hanging out the windows. You know what I mean? Like, there's no central heat and air. you know, like, what's going on? But Neyland is great atmosphere in the stadium. To me, the outside could use a little work. But he's also asking, like, you know, where my seat is. And Neyland Stadium, I'm going to be a little bit higher than I would like, I think. Next would be Vaught Hemingway. I think it's one of the bottom tier venues in the SEC. It's better than War Memorial, probably better than Columbia, Missouri, but it's definitely one of the bottom ones. I assume it's better than Vanderbilt, but I haven't been there. And then War Memorial, I think, is the worst venue in the SEC right now. Even with the renovations to Vanderbilt, I bet War Memorial is the worst stadium in the SEC. And then Memphis would be dead last. And one of the reasons I'm considering not attending Memphis game is because of that. Okay. I feel pretty good about today's show. I feel like we answered questions and went back and got other questions. Check out our sponsors of the show. You know, obviously Crane Automotive, Bet Saracen, Walker Brothers. Certainly appreciate their support. Sutherland's, of course, sponsoring the Walk and Talk this year. Check them out. Support the people that support us. Appreciate all you guys watching. Eventually, we'll start having some guests on again. It's just there's so much stuff to do. I didn't want to take Connor and everybody away from the stuff in practice. So that's what it is. All right. Be back with you guys on Thursday. I have the Wager Wagon on Thursday. Start keeping track of the Wager Wagon when the season gets going. But we'll have the Bet Saracen Wager Wagon on Thursday. All right, everybody. Appreciate you joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.